Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope this message finds you well today. I'm going to dive right into this topic because I am about to work out. I've got a short time clock this morning, so I wanted to jump on here in the morning. Get out of here. I've got about a 35, 40-minute workout. Got to get out of here, get in the car, get to the office, and get started with a bunch of meetings. A lot of good stuff going on today. So anyway, the topic of today's chat, really 9 ways or 9 habits, 9 things you can do to reduce stress. And where this comes from is a book that I read some years ago called Second Opinion by Dr. Radha Gopalan. And the reason stress for me has become such a center focus in my life. So a lot of people think about setting goals and think about what they want to do in life, but they don't realize how stress is just a natural byproduct. And one of the things I first heard about Dr. Radha Gopalan on a podcast, I don't know how many years ago now, but he talked about the 8 deadly diseases. And just a short background on this doctor, he's born in Sri Lanka. He studied grew up in obviously Eastern medicine, Eastern culture, and then merged it with Western medicine. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe he is considered the second opinion doctor in the United States, or he's one of the top second opinion doctors on the 8 deadly diseases, such as stroke and all these, all the big diseases, cancers, all that good stuff. So anyway, stress is a big deal, right? We've got to manage stress. So let me dive into these 9 things really quick. They are probably nothing you haven't heard of before, but they are part of my daily regimen. They are part of my focus on a regular basis, and I hope that these things will help you. It hasn't been an overnight shift where I've made all of these things work in my life every single day from day one, like I've been doing them for 20 years, but probably over the last 5 to 6 or 7 years, I've been incrementally making sure that these 9 things were a part of my daily regimen. So let's dive in. Number 1 is pretty simple. Drinking more water. It sounds simple. You've heard it a million times by now, but you've got to drink water. So much of our body's energy comes from the water that we drink or being dehydrated. I talk to a lot of people and, they talk about cramping. They talk about not feeling well. They talk about not having energy. And I think one of the very first things you can do is make it a daily practice to just get more water in this year. This is a 16-ounce bottle of water. It doesn't, matter what type of water you drink. I mean, sure, there's arguments out there about smart water and alkaline water and Brill water. And listen, water is water. When I grew up, we drank out of a water hose. It worked out just fine. Look, if you have a preference for drinking the high-end stuff, great, knock yourself out. But one of the practices I do every day is I drink 16 ounces of water literally before I walk out of the bedroom, or within 5 minutes of the time I get out of bed and get out of the bed, brush my teeth and get out of the bedroom. 16 ounces of water, just room temperature water, gets my day started. So drink more water. Is it 64? Is it 120? Look, if you're exercising, you need to be drinking more water. If you're drinking a ton of coffee, which is a natural diuretic, you need to be drinking more water. And that means you got to drink more than what they quote unquote tell you to drink. Okay. So you've got to monitor that based on your own behavior. Okay. Number 2 is a stretching routine. One of the things that we are doing today, we're spending a lot of time sitting on our butts. I don't know, in my 20s, I stood all day at work. In my 30s, and starting since 30, I'm now 48 going on 49, I sit all day. So I sit at work all day at a computer, and I have been doing so since 2000, actually 1997, so that would make it 21 years that I've had a job where I've been sitting at a computer. We're now staring at mobile devices. Our necks are bent down like this. Our body and our posture is hunched over like this. And I think, having talked to several chiropractor friends of mine, that I think the next big thing that's going to hurt our bodies in a health standpoint is our inability to move in our later years. So there's a little contradiction here. We're probably going to live longer than we ever have in our ancestral history because of modern medicine today. But it's going to suck if we can't move, right? Mobility for me is like the big reason why I work out. It's not because I want to bench press 300 pounds anymore. I'm no longer an athlete. I'm not trying to wear tight shirts every day. So for me, the big idea for working out is moving. So this morning, for example, I did a 15-minute stretching routine, and that was not my workout. Although if for whatever reason time is short, I will use that stretching routine as my workout because that's what's most important. I want to stretch my body before I go sit down in my desk all day and then come sit down on the couch at night or eat dinner or whatever that may be. And our necks and our posture, I mean, you probably, if you sit at a desk, you know what I'm talking about. If you're in your younger years, in your 20s and early 30s, watching this video, you don't know what I'm talking about yet. But if you're north of 35 or 40, you know what I'm talking about. So I would encourage you to find a stretching routine from head to toe. My stretching routine starts at my feet, works its way all the way back up to my head. So let's move on to number 3. The third thing that you can do to start reducing stress is to just say no more often. You know, one of the things that we get caught up in the trap of, especially if you're an achiever, especially if you're someone who gets the job done, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a leader, if people are calling on you for your expertise, I have a problem, and maybe you have the same problem of saying yes to everything, right? Last year, I can just think of a number of things that people were like, hey, Darrell, I'd like you to do this. I'd like you to do that. I just the other day was asked about, hey, would you like to come back and do this other thing? I mean, there are a number of things that we are constantly being asked to do, but what we have to do is be mindful of the ability to say no. It isn't that we're saying no, we don't want to do it. It's saying no, that right now I can't make that a priority based on what I've already committed to. Right? So there's a little difference in shift in mindset. I had to develop this habit after making this mistake in my 30s, running some companies back then, some businesses back then, and trying to do everything and saying yes to everybody. Listen, you just can't say yes to everybody and everything. Today on my calendar, you can't you can't have an appointment with me before 9 a.m. I don't open email. Matter of fact, I'm going to save email for my next one. But there are certain things in my calendar that just don't happen. There are certain things I just say no to, and sometimes I'm saying no, not now. Like I was asked just recently to sit on an advisory board. I had to say no, not now. I had to be, board of directors I was asked to sit on last year. I had to say no, not now, right? It doesn't mean I can't come back to it in a few years. So there's some things in your life that are pulling at you. You're saying yes to everything, and you might need to be saying no a little bit more this year to get more done. Number 4, big pet peeve of mine, I had to break this a long time ago. And that is, as soon as we wake up, we have a big problem of reaching over, grabbing our devices and jumping on social media or opening email and letting other people's agendas start our day. And it's a simple thing to do is just to push off 30 or 40 minutes or maybe even an hour and give yourself some bandwidth, give yourself some space to collect your thoughts, to get that stretching routine in, to drink a little water. And my next tip will be another thing you might want to do in that window. A few years ago, matter of fact, it's probably been 6-7 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago, something in that window, I just began to not, the cell phone's easy. Everyone's using their cell phone for their alarm clock. Everyone's using their cell phone for whatever. And I get it, right? We don't have regular phones anymore. So we're looking to see if someone texted us. I don't even know if that's the right word. But we're picking up these phones and all of a sudden we're letting other people's lives and or agendas start to infiltrate our very being for that day. And it just disrupts what we may have intended for ourselves that day. So my advice to you on this one, number 4, is to don't open email as soon as you open your phone in the morning, just as soon as you wake up in the morning. Don't jump on social media and start consuming all the negativity on Twitter or stuff going on in your newsfeed on Facebook. Or, if you're like me, I have to work hard to keep my social news feeds clean and loaded with positivity. It's like every time I see a negative post, I either delete the person or I hide the post, whatever. It's tough. Right? It's really, really tough. So number 5, let me move on. So if you're going to create some space in the morning, drink some water, get a little stretching exercise in, and not open your phone, right? Well, what should you be doing? And number 5 is feed your mind with some positivity. Now, positivity can be anything that's relative to you. Some people in the world, it's spiritual for them, right? For me, I use a couple of things. I do meditation in the morning. I read scripture every morning through the YouVersion app. For meditation, I use the Insight Timer app. I use Spotify. I use a number of things in that regard. I love YouTube. I go to YouTube channels that I know put out positive content every single day or every single week. So I've got a number of subscriptions there. And I might be just listening for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever it may be, while I'm getting adjusted. One of my habits in the morning is to make coffee. So I'm kind of the barista in my house for the love of my life. She's always getting ready for work. She leaves the office. She's the COO of a company, and she leaves quite a bit early in the morning. And so the joke is I'm the barista in the house, and so I get her coffee ready, and I love doing it. And so it's kind of funny. But while I'm doing it, I've got my earphones in, and I'm listening to something positive. And this is after, of course, I've done some stretching and done some of those other things. So feeding your mind with positivity, whatever that may be. It might be setting aside some time to read a good book, right? It could be reading a book, that is on your mind, that's going to help move you forward. Listening to something that's motivational, positive, whatever. If you're listening to me, thank you for doing that. Maybe you're finding this as a part of your daily routine. But whatever it is, get your mind focused on some positivity. That's the other thing. If you open email and social, you might be getting some inputs that are just not good for you at the moment. So let's go to number 6. A little bit on the dietary nutrition side of things, and that is just ever so slightly start cutting back processed foods. Not sure what that looks like in your world. I'm not going to sit here and give you a diet lecture. I'm certainly not a perfect diet person. I live in what I like to say most of the time is an 80-20 nutritional paradigm, and that means I want to eat good pretty much 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time I'll eat whatever the heck I want. I eat plenty of just to give you some context on that, so I was 215 pounds, I don't know how many years ago, 2013 or 14, and I lost about 10 pounds a year. I didn't go crazy and join some diet program to lose 40 pounds in a month. I just don't believe in that because it's not lifestyle driven. But at the end of the day, maintaining a good stress balance in your body has to do with a lot of the food that we eat. It's not even about working out so much, it's about how we eat. And so processed foods, unfortunately, they're quick, they're easy, they're fast. Whether it's, you guys know what I'm talking about. Just cut them back. Start cutting some of those back. Start eating more things that are fresh, that are whole, that are raw even. When you're going out to restaurants even, this is one of the traps I fell into. Going out to restaurants and, thinking you're eating healthy at a restaurant, you got to be careful of things like sodium and sugar, right, and preservatives. I remember that was the death of me. For years, I used to think, hey, I'm going to eat this, and I think it's fairly healthy, but I wasn't realizing how much sodium and whatnot was in it, and it was really, hurting my body. To the point at one point where I almost had high blood pressure. It was so kind of weird. But anyway, so number 6, cut some processed foods. You know what those are. I'm not going to give you a lecture on that. You can Google some of those things. And this is what I call constant and never ending improvement behavior, right? Little bit by little bit, move something out of your diet. Move little bit by little bit, cut something back, right? Now, around the holidays, public admission here, I ate a ton of dessert over the Thanksgiving and New Year's holiday. But now I'm back to my disciplined self, right? So it's not about, I think a lot of people kill themselves when they, call it a cheat day or they go too many days without being healthy. Look, I think last year I only worked out an average of 2.8 times a week, according to my app, because I track everything on my app. And so if you think about that, it's a little less than 3 times a week. But inside of the year, I know where I was inconsistent. I had gotten injured a few times, so I know I went a few weeks without working out. So again, it's not about all or nothing. It's about balancing yourself. So cutting those processed foods out would be very helpful for you this year. 7, improving your sleep. I used to disrespect sleep. Just disrespect sleep and the effect on stress in your body and that window that we should take full advantage of. Now, some people sleep to the point where they're just lazy and they're killing it. But some of us, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a grinder, if you're someone out there trying to get things done in the world, you think that, and I hear there's a lot of people talking about it online. I love E.T. Eric Thomas, if you don't know who I'm talking about. Love Gary Vee. And these cats will talk about working 17, 18, 19 hours a day. I ain't having it. I'm just not having it. I'm not working that long. I am doing my thing. Don't get me wrong. You got to have windows and seasons when you're working a little extra. But do me a favor. Don't disrespect sleep. I started finally prioritizing sleep in the sense that I wanted to really focus on getting better sleep. And I came across a book, and I don't have a copy of it in front of me right now, but it's a book by Sean Stevenson called got a little note card here. It's called Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson. Look up the Model Health Show. I think themodelhealthshow.com. Sean Stevenson, you can find him all over Facebook, Instagram, Google him. He's got a book called Sleep Smarter. I didn't have some of the problems that that book recommended. I didn't have some of those problems. My thing was I just couldn't shut my mind off at night. So I found for me that one of the best things to help me wind down was to shut off my phone at least 20, 30 minutes before, meaning stop reading things and stop whatever browsing on my phone, whatever it is, because a lot of us are reading off of our devices today, and I'm guilty of that as well. But shut that down and let that blue light start to get out of your eyes. And then the other thing for me is just to quiet down my mind. So I usually put in some soft piano music or some meditation music, that kind of thing, and wind it down. But anyway, get some better sleep this year, and that will help you with some of your stress. And I do recommend Sean Stevens. Got a great podcast too if you want to check that out. Okay, number 8, and we'll come to a close here really quick, and that is be very intentional about doing what matters, doing more of what matters. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that a lot of times we are being asked or forced or required to do things that we're not passionate about, asked to do things that we're not skilled at or gifted at. We are asked to do things that are not just out of our comfort zone. So I'm not talking about challenging yourself to do new things. I'm talking about serving in a position that doesn't fulfill you. I'm talking about operating in areas that are outside of your unique gift. I'm talking about things that are just where you're not intentional about where you're going. And when you are not intentional about the things you're doing and where you're going, there is a level of stress, that this weight that you feel on your shoulders, and you get this tension. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel. And there are times in life and business, career, wherever you might be, you might not be able to just jump out of whatever that tense situation is, but acknowledge it. Give it its place in your life and say, I see you, right? I see you, and I'd like to make things better, but be more intentional. And the only way you're going to do that is to visualize that future self that you'd like to be. Visualize that future position that you'd like to have. Visualize that future result or level of success that you want in your life, and sort of cast that net, cast that vision for where you want to be, and then start to orchestrate those steps. It's funny that very interesting, the more little steps you start taking towards that goal, the better you feel, the less stress you feel around the things that may be holding you back that you don't want to do. And number 9, I'm going to bring this to a close, is to be very intentional about gratitude. This is something that over the last 12 months, daily gratitude, being very focused on sitting down and saying at least, so I have a cheat. Like I've been hearing about journaling for years. A lot of my mentors, people that I've been around say that they journal daily. And for me, it was difficult to open up a journal book with a blank sheet of paper and just start writing down my thoughts. It just didn't work for me. So I stumbled across this book called The 5-Minute Journal. And I know it's backwards in the screen. I apologize because I'm looking here to see if there was any comments. I can't even see any comments. So sorry, you guys, if you're leaving comments, I can't see them. The 5-Minute Journal is literally a script for 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening. You just simply open it up and follow the prompts, and you fill it in. This has, for the last 12 months, been my little sort of daily morning and evening ritual. It takes you 5 minutes in the morning, takes you 5 minutes in the evening, could take you, it shouldn't take you too long. But what's very interesting about it is from a level of stress, and I wouldn't have known when I started that journey last year, how it would help me deal with some unbelievable challenges last year. Unbelievable, right? And I'm not preaching to the choir here. Mine weren't any worse than yours. Mine were probably just different than yours. And this isn't everyone goes through them. But what's interesting is when life is life, and we have these unfortunate things happen that came out of nowhere, if our bodies have not been predisposed or preconditioned to handle the stress, you'd be surprised how things can turn really worse in our lives. And so for me, I feel like one of the things of these 9 was this journaling habit of just sitting down thinking, what are 3 things that I'm really grateful for today? Today it's sunny outside here in Las Vegas. It's a little chilly, 29 degrees when I got up this morning. I'm not sure where you are in the world. That's that may not be that cold to you where you are, but 29 in Vegas is a bit chilly. But guess what? At the very least, I could say I'm grateful that it's sunny and not cloudy, right? I can say that I'm grateful that I have 3 appointments today with people that want my help, right? And it's January 3rd. I can say anything. It's anything that you want, but that's what this little journaling practice can do for you. I have found that it seems sort of mundane in the process, like when you're doing it daily, but you'd be surprised that as that little momentum starts to pick up, and it's challenging you to think outside the norm. Don't just say, well, if you do this 365 days a year and you have to think of 3 things, you have to sit in that for a minute. And you'll find that your mind starts really picking out the little things, the things that we take for granted. It's very interesting, very powerful. Anyway, I'll put a link to both Radha Gopalan's book, Second Opinion, in case you're interested, the 5-minute journal, if you're interested. These have been 9 things that I think practice-wise, if you integrate 1 or 2 or 3 or all 9, whatever it may be, we all take on different levels of stress. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a marketer. Things are changing on the internet every single day. I have client demands. It's kind of funny, just to finish this off, I had a client we've been just crushing it for this guy, he's a dentist in the Midwest, and we've been crushing it for him. And then in the last 2 months, we've had a little bit of shakeup, and it's just funny how things can change. And our business is very fickle in the fact that we don't control the internet. So while we're helping companies grow on the internet can change, and we can't change it back. And we have to adjust. And so this process of being able to handle momentary stress and be okay when things happen that are a little bit unforeseen, I think that's also part of this journey of being successful. So reducing stress, that's what we're talking about today. Getting more done, whatever that might look like in your business. Don't have to be an entrepreneur, don't have to be in marketing, whatever that might be. It could be your health. I'm getting ready to work out. Kind of the last little segue is, working out is stress, right? Working out is stress. And so one of the other little things, I guess I'll give you a bonus tip, number 10. Someone asked me, a couple people who knew what was going on last year, they said, well, how do you seem like, one person said, if you gave a class on temperament, someone said, I'm trying to say it how she said it. She goes, if you gave a class on temperament in the midst of adversity, I would be the first person to sign up. And in the moment, I didn't know exactly what she meant. And then as I reflected on that for a few weeks, it dawned on me that I looked back at myself in the middle of that adversity, and I said, wow, I guess I see why she said it, but maybe my body had been so, because I work out and because I've maybe taken on some of these other practices, that when life stress happened that came out of the blue, I don't know if I was prepared for it, because I certainly wasn't, but something, I think, in the process of these little micro habits to reduce daily stress sort of conditioned me to be able to deal with that situation. And should I say those situations, because there were more than one. Anyway, I got to get off here. I got to get this workout in. I'm looking at the clock on my left. If you have given me time today out of your 1,440 minutes that you get in a day, I just want to thank you for that. I honor that. And if there are things that you do in your life to reduce stress that I didn't talk about today, do me a favor and drop those in the comment. Tell me what you're doing to reduce stress if they're outside of these 9 things. If you're already doing these, or if one of these 9 things have been a big influence in your life, let me know. I'd like to share it with our community and let people know about it. And Cindy, hey, I see you there. Gratefulness, she says, gratefulness is a key. I need to journal again. Good reminder. Yeah, it is. I think we walk around saying we're grateful, but I think there's a different process when you start writing it down. And again, I struggled with a blank sheet of paper. So when I need prompts, like my mind needs prompts. For me to sit down and look at a blank page, it just didn't work out. But now I get this prompt every day, and it's pretty helpful. So thanks for joining, Cindy. Appreciate your comment. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up and go. I've got to jump in this workout and get moving on. I got some people to see, and I hope this message blessed you in some way. If you haven't liked the page yet, do me a favor, like the page, turn on the notifications if you want to see these live, or be notified when I go live. And I will see you tomorrow at some point. All right? Hope you're having a great day. Bye-bye.